This is the entrance to Elysian Park, the first city park Los Angeles ever had, established in 1888. The land was so hilly, the city fathers deemed it too hilly to build on. After all, at the time there was plenty of buildable flat land available. So they designated the area as a public park. The entrance was on North Broadway and was easy to reach via the trolley line. The huge acreage spread west from North Broadway to the Echo Park district. Many scenic roadways were built for people to enjoy, as seen here. You can see in this postcard, the path is called a driveway. The postcard must have been from the 20s, when automobiles were starting to proliferate. And this road was truly a driveway. The beautifully kept entrance has long lapsed to today's condition. Still nice, but nothing like the grandeur of the past. I live on the opposite side of the park, Echo Park. And since I've not renewed my gym membership since COVID, I try to get some exercise by walking on one of the driveways the park avails to me. I had always thought the route was just a fire road, until one day I noticed a faint trace of yellow line running down the middle of the street. And I said to myself, a fire road would not have a yellow line running down the middle. A yellow line means two-way traffic. So I started to do some investigations by looking at some old maps of Los Angeles. I found my area that was my trailhead to the fire road. And this map shows the actual start was at a street called Reservoir, today called Lilac Terrace. And it seems the drawing indicates a path as a dirt road rather than a street. And that path meanders through the edge of the park. This path would at some point become Elysian Park Drive. The end of Elysian Street touches the very boundary of Elysian Park. Elysian Street today would be Douglas Street. As we follow the path down to Scott Avenue, you'll see a segment called Cooper. On this 1923 map of the same area, Cooper entering the park's boundary seems to continue down to a road called Chavez Ravine. Now, if we follow that road up to Effie Street, you'll see Effie crossing Chavez and continuing to the park boundary. Then, crossing Sergeant Place and going further still for a small distance before terminating. That little part of Effie still exists today. And it seems to appear much shorter than the map indicates. And all of this short roadway has been commandeered by residents to be used as their personal driveways. The curbing is confusing, as it appears to slant down to a typical driveway, rather than a more standard curved curb for a street. The other side has been totally replaced. As we look across the street, there's an elevation of dirt that seems never to have been a road. Looking from atop of this mound, the supposed road would have had to go through this meadow to connect with Effie Street. And going through the first palm tree of Palm Tree Row on Chavez Ravine. And all of these palm trees look like they've been here a very long time. Here's another view of where this segment of Effie would have passed. We can see that this section of Effie has not yet been built. We now see on this map that Reservoir Street has now been renamed to Lilac Terrace. But the map shows Lilac as a straight line all the way past Boylston and beyond. Whereas today, right at the beginning of Elysian Park Drive, Lilac veers down to Elysian Park Avenue, as it does today. That was kind of curious to me, as this and other maps have Lilac as being a straight line, which didn't seem right to me, because if it were a straight line, it would have had to go over a hilltop. That's why it took a turn to come down the hillside to Elysian Park Avenue. While this 1928 map does not show the dirt roads or the paths, we can see that Chavez Ravine has been paved a ways to the north, in through the park. Evidently, a lot of things changed in that year. In this later 1928 map, Chavez Ravine has been paved all the way through, past Effie, and joins Elysian Park Drive. And Scott has been made to continue down to Chavez Ravine. If we look again at Lilac Terrace, this new map shows the correct route as it veers down to Elysian Park Avenue and then going around the hill and connecting with the rest of Lilac Terrace. That goes behind the Naval Armory as it does today. This topo map shows the correct route of Lilac Terrace. This part of the same 1928 map shows the area a little more north. And it does not have that segment of the proposed Effie Street that we saw on the earlier map, as well as a segment farther east going into the old neighborhood. The dotted line north of the junction at Elysian Park Drive was probably a path. It was never developed, as that area became the Grace E. Simmons Lodge. And now I came across this 1932 map, and I got a little confused. It seems this map has the same error as the earlier map, showing Lilac Terrace as a straight line. It does show Lilac Terrace veering down to Elysian Park Avenue, and probably aligning itself further down to Lilac Terrace here. The map is showing a part of Lilac Terrace that never existed. Now this 1956 map shows things a little clearer to me. While just at the bottom, Lilac seems to be that straight line, well, we can't really see. But it does show the entire route of Elysian Park Drive, as it begins its journey from Lilac Terrace, up and through Victory Park, heading down the slope to Scott Avenue, continuing past the Phantom Effie Street to Morton Avenue, which is now Academy Road. The old Morton Road goes down to Chavez Ravine as it does today. Elysian Park Drive continues along the park boundary to what will become the Grace E. Simmons Lodge, and continues and ends at today's Stadium Way. This is a 1957 map, just a year later. And we can see Elysian Park Drive as a dotted line, and part of Chavez Ravine that will be actually taken out. Probably for a new vision of the traffic flow for the anticipated low-income housing project that would replace the Elysian Heights neighborhood. That housing project was never built. However, years later, something would. Dodger Stadium. This 1966 map shows Dodger Stadium has been completed, and we see Stadium Way continuing its journey south down to what used to be called Effie Street, now Academy Road. And Scott Avenue, just north of Barlow Hospital, will continue to advance as another entrance into the stadium. To do this, they had to cut through Boylston Street. This part of Boylston Street was on the ridge of a hill, and they wanted to keep Scott at grade level. The power lines are evidence of Boylston's original path. After cutting through Boylston, they added an off-ramp down to Scott, probably buying out some property for the right-of-way, and continued it south from Scott, realigning itself again with the original Boylston Street, terminating at Chavez Ravine as it does today. But let's turn our attention back to Elysian Park Drive. Sometime between 1923 and 1928, the old dirt road that I thought was a fire road became Elysian Park Drive. This old signage has long since changed to a more modern type. It seems here that there was a collector of these old signs. And in 1957, you could still drive Elysian Park Drive from its beginning at Lilac Terrace, all the way to its terminus at what is today Stadium Way. Although the map shows the road continuing on the other side of Stadium, I haven't found any old map giving it a name. Today, it's known as Angeles Point Road. The dotted line here represents a route that is no longer open to the public for automobile traffic. In the near future, the first and second sections of Elysian Park Drive would be gated, as they still are today. So as I walk down Elysian Park Drive from my entrance at the top of Douglas Street, we'll now see this road is probably over 100 years old. And with little maintenance, it's a wonder it still survives today. If we look close, we can see the road was paved twice. The bottom layer of aggregate material and a top layer of tarmac that has eroded away. It's no wonder that the roadway is so cracked. Each layer was just about an inch thick, a total of about 2 inches. No roadway today would be built no less than 4 to 6 inches thick. But we all should be thankful that this roadway still does exist. Being gated, it lends itself to walkers, joggers, people walking their dogs, and even cyclists. All who use this path do not have to worry about motorists. And it's here we can make new friends. There you go. That's the girl. Right here. Right here. Yeah, okay. As we reach the final gate, we're at Grace E. Simmons Lodge. And if it wasn't for this wonderful lady, this road and part of Elysian Park might not be here today. This last vestige of open space and quiet, scenic land was once talked about at City Hall to be turned into a concrete and steel municipal auditorium. Imagine this becoming this. Find out more on the Grace E. Simmons story on the extras section of this disc. If this had been built, it would have added to the destruction of the park-like area that was once adjacent to the tranquil neighborhood of Chavez Ravine. But that area would soon see a concrete and steel development rise up to be known as Dodger Stadium. Again, go to the extra section to find out more about that. Here in Chavez Ravine, people were living a simple life away from the ever-expanding city of Los Angeles, minding their own business, when the powers that be had an idea. The city deemed the area as a blighted neighborhood, and being so close to downtown, it was an embarrassment. So the urban renewal mindset at the time was enacted. Because some of the poor conditions of the area was blatant, the City Housing Authority sent letters to all residents to notify those of the Palo Verde and Chavez Ravine areas that an assessor would be coming and evaluate their property and give them what they deemed fair market value. Then they would have to leave. This entire neighborhood was evicted. But, as I said, the planned low-income apartments were never going to be built. Because of a mindset at the time, low-income housing made available by the city was considered a socialist endeavor. Many thought it a very communistic type thinking, and a new mayor at the time thought he should go along with that way of thinking. And after many of these houses were bulldozed, the area was in limbo for years. Until a Mr. O'Malley asked the city of Los Angeles if they would want his team, the Dodgers, to make Los Angeles their new home. Well, the city was quite eager to embrace the idea. And since it had all this empty land sitting idle, they made the sale. And it seemed the city made a great deal. The land was appraised at $97,000, but Mr. O'Malley seemed to have paid $465,000. Looks like LA got not only a team, but a great deal as a bonus. And so it came to pass. So it wasn't the Dodgers that took out a neighborhood, but the city's powers that be, who thought that a poor community being so close to downtown was an embarrassment. As is often the case, those with little or no power acquiesced to the powerful. Let's take a look at Elysian Park Drive today and go back in time. Let's pave the road as it might have been. Now, let's plant some young trees and take away some years of growth. Now let's add a curb and some lush edging. And last, let's add a Model T to go driving a leisurely tour on one of the driveways in Elysian Park. Oh yes, let's add some color.